What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. I got my co-host with me here, Mr. Mike Williams. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, brother? Excited about today for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, me too, bro. And this is my favorite division in the NFL to talk about. We got the AFC West, man. It's about to be a bloodbath this NFL season. You guys stay tuned because we're about to get into the meat and potatoes. We're going to give a prediction for each and every team. So if you're a Raiders fan, Chargers fan, Chiefs, Broncos, stay tuned. We're about to get knee deep in it.
Time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.
And the predictions for each and every team. That means if you're a Raiders fan, man, you better stay put. We're going to talk about it. Chiefs, Broncos, and bolts up if you're a Chargers fan. We're talking about all four teams today. And our predictions, little too early, but our predictions for the 2021-2022 season. Now, Mike, you're a diehard Broncos fan, and it wouldn't be right if I didn't let you kick off this episode, my good sir. What do you have the Broncos going as this year?
Yeah, man, I think for us, it's just a matter of health. We have a pretty tough schedule, and under Vic Fangio, we haven't won a game in September, and I think for us to take the next step, we have to change that, obviously, because we start off with like the Jets and a few other teams that, you know, are teams that we should beat with the roster we have. So I really think a good like 9-8 or 10-7 is a very realistic record for our team if we get average quarterback play and we have health, right? Again, that's asking a lot, but I feel like with some of the moves we made, the first 5 draft picks or the first 5 rounds of our draft picks, all of them will make the roster. And that doesn't happen often. I can like almost assuredly guarantee those first 5 rounds, everybody will make the roster. As you know, some of them will be starting, but a few of them will be big contributors right away. So I think, you know, that's a good range. And I think our division in the AFC West is going to be extremely competitive this year. I think it's going to be way more competitive than people would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're I mean, I see the Broncos. I mean, could they possibly fit into a wild card spot? Absolutely. We all know the AFC is just crazy right now, man. I mean, from the Browns, the Colts being Super Bowl contender. Well, I don't know about now with Wentz, but yeah, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, a lot of teams are, you know, the Bills, they're elevated up. So there's only so many playoff spots. I do have you guys, and this is not to include playoffs or anything like that, but for regular season, I have you guys taking and winning 9 games and losing. The 17-win season, keep in mind, 8 losses. But they're going to be a lot of close games in there. We're going to take and see what Mr. Drew Lock takes and has. And if not, hey, Teddy Bridgewater, what's up? You guys had a great draft as well, too. I didn't want to move on to any of the other teams without taking and talking about Patrick Surtain, Javonte Williams. I know you guys, man, your running back went to Houston, man, but Javonte Williams, man, I'm not too good at fantasy football, but that would be a great guy to take and pick up. Baron Brown and Caden Stearns, and of course, the person who hurt me so much he landed on my team was Jamar Johnson. Great freaking pickup. But yeah, as you mentioned, health is gonna have a lot to do with it. So we will definitely have to wait and see. Now, the next team I want to take and talk about is, I was about to say Oakland, but the Las Vegas Raiders. They're a team that can beat the best teams in the NFL. And they're a team that could lose to some of the worst teams in the NFL. They need some tightening up in the back office and their play calling. But the Raiders, man, what is your prediction for the Raiders this upcoming year?
Obviously, I hate the Raiders, so I don't want people to think, you know, he's making this prediction because he hates the Raiders. Their organization's just been extremely mid, you know, since John Gruden's got there. So I think they'll probably be like a 6 or 7 win team. I think they're going to regress a little bit because they didn't really address all the weapons they need to on the offense as far as wide receiver. They got rid of a lot of their players that are solid Pro Bowl type players on their line, so our line's going to take a step back. And they ended up drafting like 3 safeties, man. Like, I get if you have an area of need, but they have so many areas that they needed, like a receiver, like they needed an elite number 1 receiver. You know, they drafted a tackle a little earlier than I think he was supposed to go. I think he'll be solid, but they could have got an impact receiver at that time. So it's just, I think they'll win 6 or 7 games, man. Honestly, I do believe they will finish last place in the division this year, just because of some of their roster turnover at key positions. If you see a team that has a successful line get rid of a lot of people on that line, I can't expect that team to do as well, you know? especially if you don't have like a Patrick Mahomes, a Tom Brady or like a Peyton Manning that they can kind of adjust to having not the best line. They have Derek Carr. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL. And they didn't do enough, I don't believe, to keep their line where it needs to be. So that's kind of the main reason for my prediction for them. But I do believe they'll probably end up last place in our division.
Yeah, man. And to kind of piggyback off what you were saying a little bit, I like the Raiders. I do like them, man. And they're a team that, like, man, if they could fix a few things, man, you mentioned it. The O-line, huge. Alex Leatherwood, he's going to be a starter right away. I definitely see it. It'd be stupid for him not to be, They have a running back who's yet to be proven. You got one of the best wide receivers in last year's draft, not the most year before last draft, Then there's Derek Carr. And Derek Carr, man, we've seen the best of the best out of him. We've seen the person who was an MVP candidate, and we've seen the guy whose his organization hasn't always backed him, kind of thing. I love Derek Carr. He's I'll probably add him in there as far as my top 10. Not best quarterbacks, but favorite quarterbacks. I do like him a lot. But obviously, they got a lot of safeties, got a lot of defensive players in this year's draft, man. I think it's going to be another scrappy year for them. I take and I have them winning 8 games with 9 losses. Again, my prediction. And then let's go ahead. Let's take it over to the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. I still struggle to say that. I used to live in San Diego for 4 years. For those who don't know, I would say shout out to San Diego. But the Chargers, man, again, offensive rookie of the year, Justin Herbert from last year. People are giving predictions. I think even our recent episode, I think we said this. He's an MVP candidate, hands down, not just for rookies. I mean, the guy is a dog. Definitely do not see a sophomore slump here. What's your prediction for the Los Angeles Chargers?
I've been saying it so much, man. It's just, and again, I don't want people to think I'm biased or nothing like that, but I think they have, on paper, their rosters look good for years. They have been one of the most injury-plagued teams of the last decade, not even like a year or two. Like, they've had injuries at crucial spots every year for as long as I can remember off the top of my head. From Melvin Ingram when he was in his prime, Joey Bosa got hurt. Derwin James keeps getting hurt. Keenan Allen's got hurt. So I just feel like they're in a position that if they stay healthy, they're going to be good, but their history has suggested that they're not. Now, some stuff I do like they did before I go into what I think their record will be is trading back and getting Rashawn Slater was an elite move, right? They had a pick, they added another first round draft pick and another mid-round pick, and got the player they would have drafted there. Asante Samuel was one of my favorite corners in this draft, and for them to be able to get him in the second round with their aging secondary, they have one of my favorite Broncos of all time, Chris Harris Jr., but he has lost a step. There's a reason the Broncos didn't bring him back. And then they got like Chris Rump from Duke, who's a great pass rusher, etc. And Larry Roundtree in the 6th round. He's a running back that I think can make some noises if he's in the right situation. But with that being said, I'm in the camp of believing Justin Herbert will have a sophomore slump because I believe they're going to have injuries at a key position, and I think teams are going to be able to figure out what they're trying to do a little bit better after having some more tape on him. They're going to know his strengths and his weaknesses. So I think that team is going to probably be in the same range as the Broncos, somewhere between 9 and 11 wins. I could really see them going, 11-6, and I could easily see them getting hurt and going 8 and 9, So I think they're somewhere in that range. If I had to call it, if I had to just name one thing, I'd say 9 and 8. Just because their injury history. Now, if Justin Herbert doesn't have a sophomore slump, then they'll win 11 games easily. I just am in the camp of they have to prove me wrong. They have to prove it to me,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is the year, kind of like what this past season was for the Cleveland Browns. Magical year. I mean, you're celebrating. Every night you go to sleep, you thank Jesus and you thank God for your Cleveland Browns, right? I feel like it's the same thing for the Chargers, man. This is going to be if you're a Chargers fan, this is going to be a big year. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this, Mike. I got the Chargers with 11 wins. I got them with 11 wins. And yeah, man, they're, I know what we got. Raiders, 8 wins. I think you and I agreed roughly in that area. We got the Broncos with 9 wins. But I think this is a year, man, where I don't think they're going to win out against the Chiefs, but I think they'll at least win one of those games. It's going to be really close between them and the Chiefs. They still have a lot of holes to fill. You mentioned it yourself. the Rashawn Slater pickup was huge. I mean, that's a really, really, really good pickup. I mean, all the way down to linebacker Nick Newman. I mean, I really like all of these picks, man, that they got in the draft this year. So got them with 11 wins, Chargers, and also I'll even throw this in there. I have Justin Herbert as a top 3 MVP candidate. Sign me up.
That's solid, and I'll add one last thing to this, and then I'll definitely be ready for the last. But like, I think this playoffs there's gonna be some pissed off teams because there's gonna be a 10-win team that does not make the playoffs this year. I can almost certainly guarantee that because you think about the AFC North, they got the Browns, Ravens, and the Steelers, right? You got the Dolphins, you got the Bills, and the Patriots. Right, the Broncos in the AFC West. The Broncos lost like 6 games by less than 3 points last year, right? So, team that's still learning what you got the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs. That's 9 teams right there that can all make the playoffs. So only 7 can go, right? So, and that's not even including the other divisions. So, I just like the AFC North or AFC East, or no, I think I got everybody, but. That's not including one of the divisions. I'm over here tripping. I apologize, but I'm saying a lot to say. There's going to be some teams that deserve to be in the playoffs. Yeah. That are not going to make the playoffs this year. And I believe the AFC West might be one of those teams where if the Broncos or Chargers that sneak into that 10-win territory, if, the Ravens or the Browns or the, Steelers do what they're supposed to do, it's going to come down to like a tiebreaker,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I say this every year, but it's more so this year because I haven't seen the AFC this powerful in the last 2 decades. Man, get your popcorn ready. It's going down this NFL season. And then, of course, we're going to take and cover, you already know what it is. The AFC champs of last year, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City, what's up? What it do? Man, they're locked and loaded, man. Now, I will say once Pat Mahomes contract money kicks in, not this season, but next season, yeah, it's going to be a different story, but they were able to retain a lot of their talent. I mean, I remember. Do you remember a couple years ago when the Ravens won the Super Bowl and they lost like all their team?
Yep.
Or let's talk about when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and they lost like all their team.
Broncos, the same thing happened. That 2015 team lost a bunch of players too.
A bunch of players. So for a team that is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Now, I do have the Chiefs losing more games this year. I do. Just the NFL is a dangerous place. The AFC is a dangerous place right now. Listen, I do have the Kansas City Chiefs winning the division. I do. But I have them only at 12 wins. There it is.
Hey, that's interesting, man. That's an interesting – I hope it's in that range or less because then that means somebody else can compete. But I truly believe – with the additions they made to their line, because they were doing stuff to the line, and you're like, what are they doing? But then they brought in some huge names. Orlando Brown they brought in. They had the tackle, I forgot his name off the top of my head last year, that was out all season, and he's actually going to play this year. They drafted Creed Humphrey. He's going to slide in at center right away. So they got rid of a weakness that was a weakness in the Super Bowl. Is going to be an absolute strength coming back. Their defense reloaded. They added Nick Bolton in the draft, who was one of my favorite linebackers in this draft. So I think all that to say, I think that team has a legitimate chance of going like 15-2 or 14-3. I believe they'll lose a game to the Broncos. I believe they'll lose a game to the Chargers, and then they'll probably just lose some other arbitrary game. But they have a legitimate chance of winning 15 games, man.
Yeah, they're good, man. And they're not to go off topic, but you look at the cover of Madden, right? You got Brady, you got Brady on one side and Pat Mahomes on the other, and you got big goat, little goat, and Pat, man, he's so excited, man. There a lot of people don't realize this. There's yet to be a quarterback in the modern contract era win a Super Bowl. Not that I don't think it can't be done, but if it is done, Pat Mahomes is definitely the person to do it, hands down.
100%. You think about what you just said is such a huge thing where teams like to stay quarterback less than a certain percentage of their salary. Mm-hmm. But I think for the Chiefs, man, Patrick Mahomes is like a generational talent that's unquestionable. Dude can, he scrambles very well, very accurate, no look passes, limits interceptions. So I just feel like the money that they gave him, he's going to be able to cover a lot of holes, right? Like I think when his contract does kick in, they're going to have to make some tough decisions. But I just feel like he's a guy that, You know, like we saw Tom Brady with not as many weapons as Patrick Mahomes has, and he still got the ball out. I think Patrick Mahomes has the ability, as sick as this makes me to my stomach, you know, complimenting Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, that he has the ability to get the ball out to where he needs to get it to and raise people's game. So I really, truly think, man, they're going to be a 15-win team. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. I really do hope, you know. I hope you're 100% right. They win like 12, 11 games, something like that. That would be fantastic. But I have a hard time believing a team's going to be like they're going to be favored almost every game this season, you know?
Yeah, fam. It's going to be interesting, man. But hey, Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, man. I feel like this is I feel like you're handing everybody, I keep using this analogy, you're handing everybody a butter knife and say, hey, go kill each other. Boy, it's about to go down in the AFC West this year. Going down. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Make sure you go down below, hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for helping us get to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get to 2,000 next. Catch y'all next time. Touchdown with Doug Smith. Peace.
Time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.